now come to the question of why different groups of microbes and the metabolisms they run have managed to stick around so long. As I've mentioned a couple times now, glass-boring microbial communities found in basaltic volcanic glass have been around a long time. Likewise, Andy Knoll shows some dramatic examples of his own. For instance, Polybescerus was first found in Precambrian tidal flat sediments, but turns out to have a modern analog in modern tidal flats in the Bahamas. These examples suggest there is considerable stasis in which taxa remain unchanged, or nearly so, for considerable periods of time. Okay, so why is there apparently so much stasis in cyanobacteria and other microbial groups? Well, there are two possibilities. First, it may be that the apparent similarities result from convergence, in which similar forms evolve in the same environments due to common selective pressures. In this case, looks would be deceiving, and the similar appearances would not indicate genetic continuity. Indeed, cyanobacteria and other microbes are pretty simple, so convergence is not beyond the realm of possibility. A second possibility is that stasis is real. The same species have literally survived, nearly unchanged, for billions of years. Bacteria are not only very abundant, able to colonize virtually the entire planet, and hence difficult to extinguish, but they're also extreme specialists. In Andy Knoll's words, they specialize in doing nothing. Most of the time they're not growing, but when conditions are favorable, they turn on and grow vigorously. Since the world is a complex place, there's probably some place on Earth that are great places to grow for pretty much any microbe, no matter how obscure or energy inefficient its metabolic system. There's no need to be a jack of all trades here. Now notice how different this is from us. If conditions go bad on us, we either starve, move, or switch resources. Microbes can mostly just go into stasis in contrast. This difference in flexibility between us and most microbial groups can be described as an adaptive landscape model or a fitness landscape. Sewell Wright came up with this analogy in 1932. In his concept, the higher the peaks are on the adaptive landscape, the better the fit of organisms to their environment. Specialists like most microbes occupy high, narrow peaks, while lower, wider hills are occupied by organisms like us that must deal with environmental trade-offs and optimization for a diversity of environmental challenges. So the peaks are highest for bacteria, but more muted for multicellular generalists. Generally, only microbes and land plant spores and seeds can go into long-term stasis, whereas the best that big mammals can do is to go into hibernation. Still, another dominant theme in Earth history is that of addition. Sure, there is extinction, but Earth history is rife with the addition of new things, and very little complete extinction of basic ways of making a living. Both the fossil record and studies of genetics, like David and Alm 2011, show that the most basic metabolisms all evolve early. Even horribly inefficient ways of making power, like the microbes eating their way through glass, are still around and evidently vibrant. After all, nobody is apparently competing with them to do this. Although it may be inefficient as a way to make a living, some microbes have apparently become very good at this strategy and still use it to this day. As long as nobody evolves who can eat glass better, the community living in volcanic rocks will continue to thrive. I like to think of Earth as a birthday cake. I mean, well, hell, why not? Here the cake is microbial life, the frostings are the eukaryotes, and the writing on top are the metazoans. We live on a microbial planet. Few basic metabolisms have been lost. Instead, the good ways of making power have been traded around by lateral gene transfer between microbes, or their metabolic machinery has been seized upon by eukaryotic cells to make power for them. I think a cool implication of the status of many microbes is that there must be something like prebiotic life out there to be found, perhaps living in corners of Earth that familiar microbes could never successfully colonize. So it's up to you to figure out what to look for. The problem is really, how would we recognize the very earliest stages of life, particularly because it almost certainly did not have DNA? That would be a discovery of the first order.